Hello, partnership families. Welcome back to our Summer History Club. What happened back then, and why does it matter? My name is Mr. Beller, and I'm thrilled to be joining you for our second episode this week. Let's get started with a review of what we learned last week. We started out our Summer History Club by identifying the two parts of history. History is both the events of the past, or what happened back then, and the stories we tell about the past, or why it matters. When we decide to tell a story about the past, we are choosing to tell that story because we think it is important for us to know. Last week, we looked into the story of how the Schomburg Center in Harlem got its name, which included a look at historical events that involved many people, like the Great Migration and the Harlem Renaissance, as well as the work of individuals like Arthur Schomburg, Katherine Allen Latimer, and Jean Blackwell Hudson, who helped the Schomburg Center become a world-famous library that has preserved and spread history that others had silenced for too long. We are going to start today's lesson by looking at the impact of the work done by scholars like Schomburg, Latimer, and Hudson. In the introduction to the book, Into the Fire, historians Robin D.G. Kelley and Earl Lewis argue that an increase in the study of Black history since the 1960s has changed the way people understand the past. To use their words, the result has been a careful and illuminating portrait of how ordinary people make history and serve as the architects of their own destinies. I love this phrase, architects of their own destinies. It puts people at the center of history and emphasizes the way Black people have, in Kelley and Lewis's words, shaped and changed the history of this nation. In our lesson today, we are going to take a look at the way people from the Bronx have shaped the history of this nation by looking at the actions they have taken in the past and what they have done to commemorate or remember and celebrate those actions. The subject for today's lesson is this mural, or just a painting on a wall, that can be seen in the Soundview neighborhood in the Bronx. When I see this mural, I'm instantly struck by its energy and pride in the way it presents so many different subjects. A few questions come to mind when I see it as well. The first is, how and why did it get made? I'm sure it didn't get there by accident, so I want to know what had to happen for artists to paint it. My second question is, what is the story of the subjects in the mural? I want to know what the people and topics in the mural are all about to better understand why they might be the ones commemorated in this painting. Now, in order to find information to answer those questions, I'm going to have to look for different sources. And the source, as you can see on your screen, is just something that gives you information about a topic. And I'm going to start with Google as my search engine. My first step is to search Soundview Mural Sonia Sotomayor on Google. I choose to search these words because I want to include the information about where the mural is and what is in it, as that will help me try and find articles and other links about the mural. You can see on your screen, the first search result is an article from the Bronx Times. That's a newspaper, and a newspaper can be a reliable source of information or can provide information that I can trust. So I clicked on the link and read the article about the mural. It provided quite a bit of helpful info that would help me answer my question of how and why the mural was painted. However, I also want to make sure that the information is correct. One of the ways to do this is to find another source that corroborates the information. Can you say that word with me? Corroborate. One more time. Corroborate. It means to support or confirm an idea. This is an important word in studying history. Corroboration is the ability to look at two different sources for similar information. When information in one source is the same information as information in a second source, the second source corroborates the first, and corroborated information is more reliable, or I'm better able to trust it. So I went back to my Google search, as you can see on the screen here, and found another newspaper, the Bronx Free Press, with an article about the painting of this mural, as you can see here. So I clicked on the link and read the article. I was excited to see that much of the second article corroborated a lot of the information in the first article. Here's some important information that helps us understand how and why this mural was painted in the Bronx. In 2015, artists from world-famous groups Tats Crew and FX Crew, with many of them from the Bronx, donated their time and efforts to this project, even though their work often costs quite a bit of money. Community Board 9 helped arrange the Bronx Manhattan North Realtors Association to provide a grant to cover the cost of the paint for the mural. Alfredo Oyagwe, known as Per One, he's in the photo on the left of your screen, was one of the artists who led the project. He said of the project, "The mural represents Soundview in our community. Instead of us doing a wall with our names, we decided to give something back." And they certainly did with this incredible work of art. Now that I know that Bronx artists, with the help of a community organization and businesses, put this project together to celebrate the Soundview community, I want to dive into my second question. What did the artists choose to emphasize, why did the artists choose to emphasize the stories from the Bronx that they chose on this mural? We don't have time to examine the entire mural today, but we will take a quick look at two different parts of it. First, we're going to take a look at the parts of the mural celebrating hip hop, which includes a DJ spinning records and a portrait of rapper KRS-One. Robin D.G. Kelly writes about this cultural and artistic movement, known to the world at large as hip hop. This predominantly Black and Latino youth culture included rap music, graffiti art, and breakdancing, as well as the language and dress styles that have come to be associated with the hip-hop generation. Hip-hop was born at a party at the end of the summer of 1973 at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx. Clive Campbell, who was also known as DJ Kool Herc, was the DJ at the party that his sister, Cindy Campbell, hosted. You can see a photo of DJ Kool Herc on your screen, as well as a flyer made on a note card advertising the now famous event. And you can see DJ Kool Herc's name across the top. It would take a few years for the term hip hop to be used, but the movement had started and would become a worldwide phenomenon over the next 45 years. As KRS-One said in 2015, this was a time, meaning the 1970s, when there were only 5 hip hop DJs in the world, and they were all in the Bronx and New York City. There are millions in the world today. Hip-hop is studied in colleges and used to push for justice in communities around the globe. And it was born in the Bronx, developed and nurtured by people who shaped and changed not just the history of this nation, but the world. Now we are going to take a look at Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor's story, as she is another one of the figures commemorated in the Soundview mural. Sotomayor was born in the Bronx. Her parents were Puerto Rican immigrants who met in the United States and were married during World War II. She grew up in the Soundview neighborhood and attended Blessed Sacrament School. She dreamed of being a judge while attending her Catholic elementary school before graduating as her class valedictorian and moving on to Cardinal Spellman for high school. She once told a reporter that it was doubtful that she could have become the person she is today if not for Blessed Sacrament School in the Bronx. And we can see a picture of her in her Blessed Sacrament uniform in the top left of your screen, as well as a picture of her visiting that school later in life. Sotomayor continued on to college and later graduated from law school. After being a lawyer in New York for more than 10 years, Sotomayor was nominated to become a judge in federal district court. When her appointment was confirmed in 1992, she became the first Puerto Rican woman to serve as a judge in a federal court. 17 years later, in 2009, President Obama nominated Sotomayor to become a justice on the Supreme Court, the highest court in the United States. She was confirmed in that role in August of that year. As a member of the Supreme Court, Sotomayor was a part of the judicial branch of the government. She and her fellow justices interpret the law or help determine what it means as they make decisions about individual cases. Throughout her time on the court, Sotomayor has defended Americans' Fourth Amendment rights, protecting people's rights against unlawful searches and defending people's right to privacy. Sotomayor even returned to her childhood neighborhood of Soundview for the unveiling of the mural that has been the subject of today's lesson. Let's watch her reaction in the video on your screen. You can see her with a number of the artists who painted the mural from Tat's crew and the FX crew, including Per One, who holds the plaque next to Justice Sotomayor at the end of the clip as they both beam with pride. I love the way this video shows us artists whose work can remind us of stories from the past that we can celebrate, as well as a person whose life can inspire us, not only with the memory of what she has done, but with the work she continues to do. It makes me think of the idea that we considered during the start of today's lesson, the idea that people are at the center of history, whether it is with their actions that they took in the past or with their decisions to tell the stories that we remember about our past. And with that, let's take another look at the Soundview mural. As you look at it, what does it make you think? What do you feel? What do you wonder about? What questions do you still have that you want answered? I hope these are the types of things you think about when you look at public commemorations like this mural. It has been so great to dive into those types of questions and when looking at this mural during today's lesson. As I pointed out last week, whenever we tell a story about the past, it is important to cite our sources or tell people where we found our information. Here is a list of the sources I used to make this presentation in my bibliography. It is also important to note that there is so much more to learn about all of the topics covered in today's lesson. Just like last week, I did not tell the entire story, and I hope that you ask anyone you can about questions that you have about today's presentation. We also have another optional assignment this week in the event that you are feeling creative and want to spend some time designing your own mural or piece of art that celebrates something in your neighborhood. Here's some tips for what to think about when making your work of art. You can make a work of art about a famous person or topic that you want to celebrate from your neighborhood. You can do some research on a famous person or topic if you wanted to, but that's not what your mural has to be. It could celebrate something that you know about or that your family knows about. It doesn't have to be someone who's famous and well-known. It's just someone who's important to you, or something that's important to you, or a place that's important to you. Think about why you want to commemorate this person or topic or place. What is the story behind the subject of your art, and why do you want to celebrate it? When you think about those questions, it will help you figure out how you want to depict or show your topic in your piece of art. And then design your artwork any way you want. It could be a painting, a drawing, a collage, could even be a piece of writing. However you best want to celebrate this important part of your neighborhood, go for it. And then email us your work. You can see my email at the bottom of the screen there. We'd love to see what you put together. We'd love to see your commemorations of something from your neighborhood and share them as a partnership network. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of What Happened Back Then and Why Does It Matter? I look forward to seeing your incredible works of art and seeing you all again next week. Take care.